Mornings with Will on 531 VI.
It is 7:33. This is Pacific Mornings. Fantastic to have your company this Monday. I'm William Terite in the chair with you through until 9 a.m. this morning. Very excited about this next talanoa we're about to have. Now, today on the show, we're joined by someone whose academic journey is deeply rooted in service to her community. Now, Vika Namoa is a doctoral student at Massey University, and her research is tackling an issue that affects many young Pacific people in Aotearoa: the cultural influences behind our financial decisions. She joins me this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, William, and thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Look, why don't we perhaps start with you giving us an explainer about your research and what you've discovered so far and what you're looking at achieving.
Awesome. Thank you, William. So my research, like you've mentioned before, is on the cultural and other influences of young Pacific people in New Zealand, which I'm sort of looking at investigating how cultural beliefs and community practices sort of influence the way our people financially behave. Um, and so I want to sort of contribute in a meaningful way to not only finding out these cultural impacts, but also designing sustainable solutions so that we could help our Pacific people improve our financial well-being and sort of empower our next generation and the way we perceive money, but also at the same time still honoring our cultural duties.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there at the end in terms of our cultural duties. Is that perhaps what sparked your interest in researching this topic? I mean, give me a bit of a sense as to why you chose to go down this path.
Yeah. So my interest was in this topic began during it was exposure on my very first job, William, where I was sort of exposed to the financial struggles and the low levels of financial literacy among our people. And so this experience sort of opened my eyes to the issue within our communities. And then so further down the line, the motivation sort of deepened after reading about the study of the Retirement Commission, which revealed that our Pacific people, we hold the lowest financial well-being score compared to the other ethnic groups in Aotearoa. And so when this opportunity to study this PhD, I saw it as a chance to sort of better understand the reasons behind these statistics, but more importantly, to help and develop culturally appropriate resources and solutions that could support our people. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your work is still in the data collection phase, of course. I mean, what are you seeing so far in terms of the cultural pressures or values that shape financial decisions?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I'm still in the data collection phase, which is quite early to comment on any of these cultural impacts, as we're in the early stages of it. But in having said that, William, I am fortunate enough to have secured a few hours of financial mentoring role, where I took this opportunity because I knew it would contribute in a meaningful way to my PhD. Um, and so I wanted to, and in this role, I've been fortunate enough to experience and go through the process of our Pacific clients. Majority of the clients that do come through in this financial mentoring role are Pacific. And so I've come through a lot of advocacy issues. Our people often get ourselves into debt and aren't aware of the financial impact that it has on um, themselves. And so these include car financing issues, getting ourselves into large debt to sort of help our families. And what they like to say is to fulfill their cultural obligations.
Yeah. And look, let's dig into cultural obligations a wee bit deeper in the sense of it's no secret for our communities providing support when it comes to funerals or church commitments, right? What's the impact on the financial futures of young Pacific people, do you think, because we are, so perhaps culturally obligated to support in those kind of areas?
So, we know that as a Pacific person, we do have duties that we need to fulfill, but at the same time, our people are sort of one example would be getting into taking out a personal loan to help fund a family birthday. Now, the impact of this, William, was this individual took out the loan without understanding the loan contract, and so coming in to see us during, let's say, a few months into the loan contract, without understanding these high interest and the repayments, they often find themselves into arrears. And so these arrears have an impact on their credit history, credit report, which then, credit rating, which then sort of, then in the future comes to the next need of financial support. They won't be able to sort of tap into, it would be restricted due to these low credit scores. So it's consequences like that sort of put Pacific people into a vulnerable position when it comes to finances. But it's something we can also look into. We've had other people tap into. Another example would be tapping into the KiwiSaver, for an example, because they're needing to either use on, and these are real life examples, church commitments or community events. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. I mean, do you think conversations like this can be somewhat taboo or uncomfortable for our community to talk about? Because what do you think?
It's very awkward, William, but at the same time, it's a topic that we often sort of we definitely don't like it. It's seen as a disrespectful, depending on the situation, but it is an inappropriate topic in a Pacific household. And so, talking about money is something that we don't do in our families. And I guess it's a missed opportunity, especially for financial education, budgeting, and just open discussions about debt, because we isolate ourselves once we fall into these sort of debts, and then what else do we do after that? We sort of get left in that isolation, which creates a bigger impact on your well-being itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, here's a very big, broad question, but I suppose what are some of the systemic challenges that add to these pressures, do you think?
I would say the financial system itself, it's modern, it's the Western financial system. I also think part of our financial system, it needs appropriate languages that sort of matches our thinking, Pacific people's thinking, their values, but not just for Pacific people. I think generally, our financial system is sort of designed in a way that confuses a lot of people, and we can only hope that this research also develops tools that supports that sort of of thinking, our values, and our communication, but more so of our language. A lot of the languages used to promote these financial products, I think we often fall into the trap without understanding the full the language of how these financial products are delivered.
Indeed. And you've spoken about the need for culturally responsive financial mentoring. It kind of begs the question, what might actually that look like in practice, do you think?
I'm at the moment, my biggest priority is to sort of contribute by designing culturally appropriate financial education resources. I know at the moment we've got budget tools and financial goals, tools that don't reflect the way that our values and our experiences And so my aim is to sort of design tools like at the moment, my uh, my top priority is the translations of these words. We don't have when we're. I often experience when I sit down with a client, William, um, the languages that we speak in terms of offering financial support, they don't match our language. So there aren't proper translations for terms like budget, financial well-being itself. And so that's my priority, is to create or design, working with our community leaders, um, to design financial terms that align with the way that we Pacific people think, speak, and also just understanding money matters.
Right, I've got you. Okay, and so what role do you think churches or families themselves could play in perhaps improving financial literacy?
Yeah. So we've got a few financial education, financial capability workshops that's designed for our communities. Not many, but something that that would be quite valuable for our community people is to have these workshops run in their space. I'm about to create one for our church, and the intake numbers and a lot of the members are quite keen to learn about it. So I guess it's promoting that in the space so that our Pacific people are more aware of of their, especially at a time like now, so that are more educated when it comes to the financial matters and how to handle that. If anything, that they fall into um, the need of being supported. Yeah.
Right, okay. And I suppose, I'm not sure if you've seen the government's recent announcement around, they're looking at introducing financial literacy. What do you think of that?
That's something that we've been rooting for, and so I'm glad that it's finally come into place. I'm not sure if you read the Herald the other day, where the Financial Resilience Index sort of showed that 55% of our people, and this is New Zealand,
Mm.
just over, which is about 2 million people, William, they're worried about their money on a daily, weekly basis. So having that skill installed at a young age will definitely help sort of contribute to the improvement of these statistics. So it's good, and I hope that it's something that we continue to do in the future.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Hey, look, final question for you. What advice would you give, I suppose, to young Pacific people who might feel caught between, cultural expectations and financial pressure? I've certainly felt that a lot of my teenage years, especially when I started earning. So, what's your advice?
Yeah. One piece of advice that I hold closely to me is just to live within your means. If you've been tasked with, contributing to a contributing financially to, an event, or especially a family function, or it's okay to say that you can't contribute. And I'm sure your family will understand. There's no need to get yourself into debt, and also just to utilize the financial mentoring services that's offered around now. If you're planning on getting, say, like a loan, or something that requires financial um, part of your financial contribution, and that would sort of um, help you to better understand whether you're fit to sign up for something, yeah, for these financial commitments.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, thank you so much for this talanoa. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I could speak about it for hours. That is Massey University doctoral student Vika Namoa. Do you have a good rest of your day, eh?
Thank you, William. Likewise.